Thank you so much. And we from Crescent City Capital are proud to present Riverside Gateway, not because of the returns that we're producing through the development for our LP investors and ourselves, but because we want to make a long-lasting impact on the city of St. Louis, producing development and changing lives through the process. When we first saw this property, we wanted to make sure that we were improving the community. We wanted to be doing something new, innovative, and different. So we came up with all of our ideas and decided on a football stadium. But A, somebody already had that idea before us, and B, it turns out there's already a football stadium 10 minutes away from the site. So we scratched that, looked at what St. Louis really needed, looked at their development plans, and decided on this development right here. And I know you guys don't need to read through all the nitty-gritty. We're about to explain it in a second. But to highlight a few things, the thesis of our development is incorporating St. Louis's new and innovative industries like ag tech, AI, and some new trends that are taking over the city and incorporating them into our project. Our main development starts at the very top. We're redeveloping the cut and belt freight to build out a vertical farming facility in partnership with tenants who work in that space. Moreover, we're incorporating developments like data centers to try and build high-skilled labor, building out affordable and market rate units, because we know that people need access to food, water, and living. And we're incorporating all of these into our development to make sure that this property lasts the test of time. Our goal, aside from the returns, is fitting the city's needs and making sure that every step that we take is incorporating what the city wants. This begins on sustainability, fitting their 2050 plans. We feel that by building something out like vertical farming, we're building sustainable agriculture, providing fresh produce to the people who need it the most, and also saving water, electricity, and a lot of other elements that go into agriculture that you normally wouldn't think about. Secondly, we're trying to stress the importance of economic activity. Aside from our $150 million construction budget that would produce a lot of short-term economic activity in job growth, we're trying to do things that will last for decades. Our economic activity developments involve providing people affordable housing. Access to living is one of the most important barriers. Secondly, in economic activity, we're producing high-skilled labor in both vertical farming and our data center facilities. We're going to be incorporating things that we think will increase GDP per capita and leave a long-lasting impact for the city. And lastly, as you can see, we're prioritizing community engagement. We're incorporating things like the riverfront and using it to source and outsource some of our distributions for produce. We're incorporating the bike path that will be incorporated through zones A and C, building onto it and connecting it to the Route Wad Park, which we're leaving untouched based on the sculptor's great work. Along with all of this, we're building out fresh produce through their grocery store, which will be displayed later, and also we're incorporating things that we think 10 years from now will make this a development that everybody will come to St. Louis for. We're building things for the people and incorporating the vision of St. Louis. And Belle is now going to explain some of the development plans that we thought of as we were incorporating our project.
As Isaac mentioned, it's not just about the returns for us. It's about doing what the city actually needs. When we were doing our due diligence on the city, we found 3 different action plans that the city is trying to implement. First, the St. Louis Jobs Plan, which is backed by Greater St. Louis, Inc., aims to transform the region into a national leader in inclusive economic growth by 2030. They also want to reduce racial and spatial income disparities while increasing the number of quality jobs in the metro area. The Economic Justice Action Plan, backed by the St. Louis Community Development Corporation and the mayor's office, focused on reversing decades of economic decline in historically underserved neighborhoods. They want to add more affordable units, increase the population in St. Louis, and add more jobs. Next, the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, focused on St. Louis being a green and sustainable city. St. Louis wants to have 80% greenhouse gas reduction emissions by 2050 compared to the 2005 baseline levels. St. Louis also plans to launch around 30 other sustainability initiatives to keep the city green. This plan focuses on the social, environmental, and economic health of the city. Now, when we were looking at the demographics of St. Louis, we found some facts that stood out to us. There's around 300,000 people in the St. Louis area, and as you can see behind me, the largest age group is 30 to 39, which is pretty similar to the national average. The income per capita is around $3,000 lower than national average, and 20.4% of people are below the poverty line. We believe with the significance of our project, we can significantly increase the income per capita and decrease the amount of people below the poverty line in St. Louis. The reason we are phasing out our project is to deleverage risk. We are going to do our redevelopments early, and we think we can receive federal funding from historical tax credits, and we're going to back into the rest of our project. Phase 1 will last approximately 2 years, and construction will start January 1st, 2025. Phase 1 will consist of construction of the vertical farming facility, data center, and the office building. Phase 2, we estimate, will also last around 2 years, and this will consist of construction of the pickleball facility, multifamily apartments, grocery store, and coffee shop. We understand that this construction timeline might be a little bit aggressive, but we do think it's feasible, and if necessary, we can push back phase 2 of our project. A vertical farm and cold storage facility will be one of those significant projects we will develop. The vertical farming market has been steadily growing over the past few years. In 2022, the market was valued at around $5.6 billion. And by 2032, the market's supposed to reach over $35 billion. I'm happy to say that we have received an LOI from a credible tenant, 1.1 Vertical Farming. They're going to pay $4.6 million in rent, and their rent's going to grow 3% annually. Vertical farms use substantially less water and land than traditional farms. They also provide access to clean and healthy food. The CDC estimates 1 in 6 Americans get sick from foodborne illness every year. So having a vertical farm, we can give residents access to clean and healthy food. We also plan to put the food in the local grocery store and implement a farmer's market and transport to other local grocery stores. Now I'm going to pass off the rest of phase 1 to Bella to explain it.
Our next building is the data center, and we decided to implement a data center for 3 main reasons. The first being the demand and the AI revolution. Through our research, we found that McKinsey & Company has stated that data centers are growing at a 10% rate each year. And AI as well, according to IDC, has an annual growth rate of 19%, increasing the efficiency and the demand for the data center. My second point is economic expansion. This data center will provide both high technical roles and lower entry job levels. Our rent assumption for the data center is $10 per square foot. This data center will be multi-tenant, and potential tenants include big corporations such as Apple and Amazon, and small businesses from the surrounding St. Louis community. This perfectly aligns with the objectives of the Economic Action Plan and the 2030 Jobs Plan. And our last reason is sustainability. Data centers are known to be energy efficient, and there's renewable energy adoption. They recycle heat waste and reduce our carbon footprint, which perfectly aligns with the objectives of the Climate Action Plan. The last part of phase 1 is an office. Through our research, we found that St. Louis has a growing need for luxury office space with additional amenities. Our rent assumption for the office is $18.25 per square foot, and we've also realized that vacancies are stabilizing and rents are continuing to increase. Now I know you might be wondering why we are adding an office, but I have 2 great reasons for why this is financially stable. The first is that, we found our comps from the Cigar Works factory, which we are modeling our construction plan on, and we realized that we are going to target smaller tenants that will fill these spaces and can afford these rents. And the second is flight to quality. Now I'll pass this on to Hugh, who will take you through phase 2.
Here begins phase 2 of our development plan, which includes multifamily, pickleball, a grocery store, and a coffee shop, which Jordan will introduce in a little. The first of our buildings is a 160-unit market-rate apartment complex, which is a key component of our goal in creating a thriving mixed-income community. According to the National Multifamily Council and the U.S. Census Bureau, St. Louis requires an additional 830 apartment units each year. Having St. Louis been recently ranked among the top cities in the nation for young professionals, we're looking to tap into the nearly 50,000 people between the ages of 22 and 29 living in the St. Louis metro area. We believe our apartments are the superior option for these young professionals because of our site's location a mile away from downtown St. Louis with views of the Mississippi River, a unit mix of studios, 1 beds and 2 beds, amenities such as a gym and communal areas for socialization, and most importantly, the community built around it. At a total development cost of just under $33 million, we achieve an average rent of $21 per square foot per year. According to the Design Downtown St. Louis Master Plan, Approximately 15% of housing units are dedicated to those earning at or below 60% of AMI, and downtown St. Louis is not serving the so-called missing middle, which is with few housing options for people earning between 60 and 120% of AMI. This 60-unit affordable apartment complex targets that neglected 60% of AMI demographic because it is not only important for our goal in creating a mixed income community, but for the people of St. Louis and St. Louis's future plans. Using Novogradic's rent and income limit calculator, we reached an average rent of $18.50 per square foot per year across the studio, 1-bed, and 2-bed unit sizes. So I know all of you guys are just way too young to enjoy pickleball, but it is the fastest growing sport in America. It has taken the nation by storm and is here to stay. With few dedicated indoor facilities in the St. Louis area, this 8.25 thousand square foot facility provides fun year-round for our community and the surrounding communities. In addition, it supports 20 to 30 full and part-time jobs. And we have an LOI signed for a base rent of $25 per square foot per year by the Exchange Pickleball and Bar, who has seen tremendous success in the New Orleans area and is looking to expand into the St. Louis market. Because of their previous success and the growing nature of the pickleball market, we have the utmost confidence in this tenant. Now I'm going to pass it off to Jordan, who's going to talk to you guys about the remainder of the phase 2.
Thank you, Hugh. When developing a community with multifamily apartments, you have to think about the essentials that the residents will need. Obviously, atop that list is food and water, which is why we decided to develop a grocer. We don't want any ordinary grocer, though. We want a credited grocery anchor to come into this up-and-coming community and help bring people to the area. With all that being said, we are very pleased to reach an LOI with Snooks. This Snooks location will create approximately 150 to 200 new jobs, and this Snooks store will be different from their other 71 stores in Missouri, as this Snooks will integrate fresh produce from the vertical farming into the store. The 60,000 square foot Snooks will pay $900,000 a year in rent, which equates to $15 per square foot. To get that price, we had a conversation with Kelly Long, a tenant representative of Snooks, and we also use comps for other credited grocery stores and grocery anchors in St. Louis. We are really excited about this Snooks store. However, small businesses truly are great. The high-quality customer service, the personal touch, and the local economic impact are a few reasons we love small businesses, and a few reasons why we wanted to incorporate one into our plan. We reached an LOI with 22 Coffee, and this LOI really excited us, because 22 Coffee is a woman-owned small business. The woman who started 22 Coffee is named Belinda Carucci, and in her one coffee shop, she has been making a killing, and is looking to expand into new markets. And a coffee shop would be a great addition to the community, as it would serve as a community gathering space and be a great spot for residents and workers to grab their daily cup of coffee. 22 Coffee will be paying $40,500 a year in rent, which equates to $27 per square foot. To get that price, we had a conversation with Belinda prior to the signing of the LOI, and we also used comps for other non-credited 1,000 to 3,000 square foot QSRs and coffee shops in the area. On the screen here, we have some of our LOIs. The LOIs we have on the screen is the Exchange Pickleball and Bar, Snooks, and 1.1. Unless you have really good vision, you probably can't see all the details of this LOI. However, if you have any questions about them, we'll be more than happy to answer them at the end of the presentation. Now I'm going to throw it back to Isaac to finish off the presentation.
Thank you, Jordan. And now, for the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for, returns and assumptions. I'd first like to start with our permanent financing, because I feel that for our long-term development, once we're at stabilization, I want to explain why we assumed our interest rate and the loans and the amount that we're planning to take out. As you can see, we set our index to 4% based on the average 10-year treasury, and we felt that it's feasible that we could go in and lock in around a 6.75 rate 3 years down the line. We're not expecting to forecast where interest rates may be, but given that we're 275 basis points above the 10-year average treasury yield, we feel very confident that this is feasible given a 3-year timeline at permanent financing. We assume 30 years of amortization, and these are just the assumptions for financing. Now let's get into the returns. At the top, you can see our levered return metrics. We have a nice safety valve where, As the investors, we're expecting a 20% return for the LP, which gives us at least a 2.34% cushion to protect against changes in costs, any redevelopment plans, or things that we may struggle as we're going through the construction process. As you can see, with an equity multiple of 3.37, we're making a great return on the money that we're investing. This is due for a few reasons, but the main reason is our basis was able to get pushed lower due to the federal financing that we're receiving that I'll discuss in a second. And as you can see, even beyond our levered returns, we're still seeing at least a 13% return in IRR in unlevered fashions. This is a great return even if the S&P is making 26% every single year, and we're very confident in the returns we're seeing from our project. Now, here's how we got them. As you can see for our sources, there are three main facets in ways we're bringing money in. The first comes from equity. Obviously, we're all going to be putting up our own funds in a fake setting for this project. Secondly, obviously, we're getting a 60% LTC loan that's going to be providing us capital to go through the construction process. And third, which isn't represented on our sources, is the federal financing that we'll be receiving through historical tax credits and new market tax credits. As for the uses, we use conservative estimates on construction management and other assumptions, 1% for asset management fee, land closing costs, and acquisition costs. And with all of this together, we end up with a construction budget of around $138 million going towards all of our different redevelopment and development practices. As you can see, the first facet that we used for federal financing came from new market tax credits, coming from our redevelopment of the industrial and the development of the retail grocery shopping center. We found, through working with new market tax credit experts, that we would be able to receive $16 million in federal funding through our project based on the 20% of the project cost that we would be receiving. As for historical tax credits, we assumed that for every historic dollar we get in historical tax credits, we would walk away with at least 87 cents of that dollar. So we felt that in the end, we would get at least $16 million going back towards the project, decreasing costs and increasing returns for us. Now, our focus is on the community. We wanted to create jobs, improve sustainability, and develop the community the best we could. Because it's not just about returns, it's about what we're doing for St. Louis. Thank you, and we'd now like to open the floor for questions. You guys.
Do you want us on the, can you hear us, or do you want us to be closer to the mic? Okay. Yeah. I do, okay. Oh, good. All right, well, good seeing you guys again. Unbelievable presentation. All of you were really, 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 really good. So, if that's a professor, good job. When working with a community, that's what you guys really focused on, what the city wants, what the community wants. Because when you're developing, you don't want to just land in a community and say, kind of what you think they should have. I think you guys did an incredible job of understanding, the goals of the city and really how they want to get there. So I have really no questions, but I think you guys did a fantastic job. I love the data center because that's what you need, right? That's what you need to be successful. The office isn't dead. We talked about that yesterday, I think. Your research was excellent. Your comps, you had real comps, which I think was great. The community outreach, getting the LOIs is huge to be able to prove your thesis. One of the things I wanted to ask too, because if you guys are building in tranches, would you take down the land in phases? Because I think you had it all coming down, taking it down at once, like the $9 million purchase. So if you're developing it in phases, I would recommend that you negotiate to take it down in phases, if you could do that, to kind of mitigate some of the upfront risk. But otherwise, bravo, great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I had just a question or a clarification on my side. I know with the cotton building, you were doing that as an adaptive reuse for the vertical farming, which I think was a fantastic idea. Well done on that. For the other facilities, were the affordable housing, et cetera, were those also adaptive reuses, or were those being taken down and rebuilt as new?
So, sorry to go all the way back to the beginning. As you can see right here, the three buildings that we're going to be redeveloping all come in phase one. The office building, right here, where we're partnering with retail on the ground floor, to my knowledge, is the Sun building. If we're looking, I think it's building 6 in the brief. So the office building is being redeveloped. The data center, we're taking another building for adaptive reuse, but the affordable is ground up development.
Okay.
I think Route 1 Park is right down here. There's a building that we're just demoing and building right on top of it.
I think your layout of how you're looking at the site is really spot on.
Yeah, and the riverfront, using that too was great.
Yeah.
Firstly, I love the energy, walking in, introducing yourself, way to break the ice. I thought as a team, you guys did a great job presenting. You spoke well, you presented well, you looked up at us, talked to us. Couple questions. On the sustainability front, how do you plan to generate renewable energy? Will there be any solar panels, or will you use the waterway to generate electricity? How do you plan to incorporate renewable energy sources?
So we floated the idea of just throwing like solar panels to install on top of the multifamily units, working with 45L tax credits, and communicated with Joey Belmont, who is a commercial installer for residential panels. Our main focus on renewable energy would just, because we didn't end up going down that route, would be to incorporate the excess waste and carbon emissions from the data center, where we spoke with 1.1 and Sam Bertram, and he communicated to us how in a lot of their developments where they're right next to data centers, they can use that excess heat and waste and use it to then power and generate electricity for the vertical farming, creating a sustainable loop for a development project.
Okay, very nice. And who's the buyer for this? Do you plan to sell it to one buyer? Are you going to bifurcate the parcels into separate parcels and sell off to a regional buyer? How do you plan to dispose of the site?
So we assume a 10-year hold period, and our disposal, I think we assume a cap rate of a 6% for the total development project. Obviously, this is something that we can't envision 10 years down the line. If it's much more financially feasible for us to piecemeal it off, sell maybe the multifamily units for a lower cap rate, and then trade maybe the retail units a little bit higher. But that all depends on the future, which
Sure.
we're not too knowledgeable of.
I'm just thinking, like, who will be the buyer who wants to acquire a vertical farm, a data center, an office, affordable housing, etc. But understood.
It would probably need to be an institutional buyer with the capital to invest in something like this, especially as it's cash flow generating. But
Understood. Thank you.
I would echo Ty's comments in terms of your energy. You guys really kind of brought it this morning, so thank you for that. And certainly you could feel it. Really good research on what the community of St. Louis needs and wants. So appreciate you guys doing your research on what their 2050 plan is and not putting up a football stadium.
They tried.
The sustainability is great. You know, I think if you know, what you could add is that, you know, there's a lot of changes in construction. I think concrete is a huge creator of carbon. So, you know, the fact that you're doing this, you're reusing what's there now is going to save on that. You could go a little further and say, hey, we're not going to use, you know, we're not going to use concrete, we're going to use, you know, timber product or something like that to kind of help save that. Love the grocery. There's a lot of food deserts in Chicago. I imagine that there may be some food deserts in St. Louis, and I'm not sure if you guys did any research on that, but that would be something that you could also say, hey, we're listening to the community and what they may need.
Thank you.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Well done, guys.
Really
Thank
well.
you.
Enjoyed it.
Oh,
And I
I
appreciate
did have one question.
Of course.
Phase 1 was office data farming. Phase 2 was multi. What was the thought in terms of like, hey, why not do the multi first?
Yes. Great question. We wanted to build into the community. I don't know how familiar, we're not from St. Louis, so we don't know the site that well, but we know that it's a market that still needs economic development and growth. And we thought it would make a lot more sense to bring the jobs in first, promote these huge facilities like vertical farming and data centers right away where we're doing the redevelopment. And that's once economic activity is coming into the city, we're seeing development coming in, we could then fill in the multifamily units, produce sales that would be sufficient for our retail partners to want to come in.
Additionally, these are the adaptive reuse buildings. So we wanted to get a footprint set, and then do the new ground up
If you
construction.
build it, they will come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Build the dreams, yeah.
So, and just, you would probably sell these off parcel by parcel, just
But-
your exit, and that's how you model them.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a hotel buyer is gonna be a different buyer than a multifamily, then nobody probably wouldn't buy the full plant development, so
Maybe
that would be your exit.
Yeah.
That would be your exit.
That would be nice.
Yeah.